What's up guys, Dylan here from 8DeadlySins. Today I'll be giving you a grand tour of my spider room. I'm going to give you updates on breeding projects. Going to give you maybe a couple feeding clips depending on what's ready. Going to give you a tour of like how I keep my husbandry in here. Um, you know, just odds and ends of how I keep everything here. So let's get into it. Alright, so this is my first shelf. This is everything I got going on here. I got Ho Chi Minh, Citharinathus tongmoinensis, which is the Chinese stout leg. This is a Renong blue female, small female. These are little Vitalis chromatus slings. This is a Ornithoctonus areotibialis, the Thai gold fringe. This is one of 3 of the lambdongs. And then behind it I have a Hybea female. This is a Firmictopus Sierra Baharuco. And then I have 4 Poecilotheria suffusca lowland that I'm raising up for future breeding. Centroides sculpturatus, which is the Arizona bark scorpion. Behind that I have the Ornithoctoninae species Veronica. This female is paired up. Hoping for an egg sac from her. Then I have 4 Psalmopoeus armenia that I'm raising up for future breeding. This is a Ornithoctonus castalis, the Thai silver gray female, and then last but not least, the Tapinocenius plumipes, the purple tree tiger. Let's peek around and see how things are doing now. Alright, so this is the Tapinocenius plumipes. As you can see, she doesn't come out much. There she is there. She's right in that corner. You'll see her like during the night or, in the morning or something like that. She'll be out like on front, but yeah, she doesn't really come out much. But this is how I have her set up. Just super simple. I always tell people you don't need really fancy enclosures for these guys. They'll make do with kind of what they have. As you can see right there is like her feeding hole right there, and she'll wait, and crickets find their way there and she'll grab them up. But that's the Tapinocenius plumipes. Let's move on. Alright, and this is another pet hole. This is the Ornithoctonus castalis. Also don't see her, but she built like this cool, like it sticks up out of the ground. I don't know if you could see that. It's a cool turret that she built. But she is down in here. I don't know if you can get her on camera. She's like right here. But yeah, she also doesn't come out much, except for when she's hungry. But that's the Ornithoctonus castalis. Alright, and this is the Centroides sculpturatus. This is the Arizona bark scorpion. As you can see, I lifted the lid and now kind of running for cover because of the light. But we're not going to bother this one too much. They're known to be fairly defensive. I know Richard got blasted by one time and it wasn't a very good experience, but just watch where you put your fingers. Accidents do happen. I'm not going to judge anybody though. But this one, seems to be pretty laid back. Alright, and this is the Ornithoctoninae Veronica. She's in just, one of these big plastic tubs. She also has a turret. People ask me, for substrate. For this it's jungle mix, but I'm kind of going to lean away from jungle mix because I don't like how it feels after a while. It kind of clumps up. So I'm going to probably be making my own mix here soon. Peat moss sand, stuff like that. More like an airy substrate. Because this turns to concrete after a while and it doesn't drain and it drives me crazy. But that's the Ornithoctoninae species Veronica. As I said, this female is paired, so hoping for a egg sac in the future. All right, another bigger female here, Ornithoctonus areotibialis, Thai gold fringe. Also very cool kind of hideout she's got going on. This is the Thai gold fringe. She dropped me an egg sac last year, kind of like mid last year. She dropped me an egg sac. That was a pretty exciting project because I absolutely love these guys. They're one of my favorite tarantulas in the hobby, just because they're gorgeous. All right, and this is nope, it's Cereopagopus, species Lam Dong. This is one of 3 that I currently own. This one, you don't see these guys very often. They usually stay pretty well burrowed. I know on social media I joke around about having pet dirt, but I really do have a lot of pet dirt. This is what I look at 90% of the time, just a hole in the ground. And then once in a while you'll see like legs on the outside of the burrow or something like that. But this one is currently unsexed. I do have a male and a female. This one keeps ripping up the mulch, so I have no idea. I have no idea on the sex of this one. This is one of my favorites. This is Ornithoctoninae species Hybea. This is a juvenile female. Probably not going to see much of her either. All these Asian species, they kind of hide out a lot. Let's see if I can maybe get my camera to focus. Nope, probably not. Yeah, you don't see much of these guys. But I am happy that this one is a female. I'm working with trying to get her up to breeding size and hopefully produce these here in the US. That would be exciting. One of my favorite species. They almost look like a Bachma, but if you put them side by side, they're definitely different. The coloring's a little bit different, patterns a tad bit off. All right, this is Firmictopus species Sierra Baharuco. Not really much known about these guys. It's just another oddball Firmictopus species. Can't really see down in her burrow, but she's down there just hanging out. Another shy one. As you can see, Firmictopus, Pamphibedius, Senestus, stuff like that, I don't keep dry. Keeping these guys dry will cause future issues. I know a lot of people that keep their Pamphibedius, Senestus, Firmictopus, you know, things like that. They'll keep them dry. My personal preference is to not. I notice they don't do well if it gets, you know, too dry. So I keep them a little bit damp. I'll spray it down, keep a water dish in there, overfill it. As you can see, the gradient, the moisture gradient in the bottom of the soil. But yeah, Firmictopus Sierra Baharuco. Alright, and this is another one of my favorites. Once she molts, keep an eye out because I am going to do a photo shoot. I know a lot of you follow my photography and stuff like that, so keep an eye out on photos from her once she molts. This is an Ornithoctoninae species Ho Chi Minh. This is a gorgeous female. Again, not going to really see much of these guys. She's, you know, right here. But yeah, you don't see a whole lot of them. Usually they stay in their burrows. There's some legs, if that means anything. Yep. But yep. Ornithoctoninae Ho Chi Minh. Great species. Alright, and this is Scytharnathus tongmayanensis. The Chinese stout leg, or they used to be called the Ornithoctoninae species Vendula. So either one of those work. Another pet hole. But if you come around to the back, she has a pretty cool window. You can kind of see her back here. There she is. These are a very cool spider. Love these guys. Another hopeful future breeding project. Would love to produce these. I know they've been coming in on imports, but I'd like to get them in on U.S. captive bred. So, Cithrognathus tongminensis. Alright, this is a Ornithoctonus, species Ranong blue. As you can see, this is another kind of a pet hole. However, when she's out, it's a real treat. This one I set up, and so in Europe they have the haplotanks, and they're like more narrow and they're deep. So I went to Walmart and I've seen this container and I was like, wow, that would be cool. So I'm trying it out. So far, she seems like she's super comfortable in here. She has a water dish, things like that, which I need to clean because she just ate and she threw a cricket in there. Gross. Probably smells bad. But as you can see, the moisture gradient, you know, it's okay to leave that top dry out a little bit. You don't need it like a swamp. They do just fine. Alright, and then moving on to shelf 2. Kind of an overview of everything I have here. Let's get into shelf 2. Alright, some of you might recognize this enclosure from yesterday's video of a female kind of freaking out after pairing. This is the Cereopagopus von Worthy, the Vietnam earth tiger, or Thai black, or whatever the common name is. She built like this really cool tunnel right here. I use these are the Zilla creatures enclosures. I use these a lot for my fossorial tarantulas. They love them and they look nice, you know, being a glass enclosure. That's Winnie in the background, don't mind her. Alright, probably not much to see with these guys. Ornithoctonidae species viridis. I have 2 of them here. Again, you know, just kind of pet dirt. But maybe this one you can kind of see, but you kind of can't. It's kind of, yeah, kind of buried down in there. Very cool species. I'm hoping to, you know, raise these up, get some breeding projects going, get these going in the U.S. hobby. It's another dream species to me, Ornithoctonidae species viridis. All right, the next up is the Tapinocenius rosti. This is my female. She's back behind her cork bark. Probably not going to see a ton of her. Oh, there she is there. So I'm waiting on her to molt. I actually have a mature male here. Hoping she molts soon. If not, better luck next time, I guess. It's all a gamble whether they line up or not. So, Tapinocenius rosti. Caribbean diamond. That's what their common name is. Alright, and then up next is the Barolestis occidentalis. Cameroon crab spider. As you guys know, I have many babies of these guys. She keeps leaving me egg sacs, so she's a pretty cool spider. Right now she's just hanging out. I opened the lid so she ran off. Really cool spiders. If you're not a fan of true spiders, I would definitely maybe consider getting one of these guys. They're really something else. There she goes. Kind of see her in action a little bit. Yeah, this enclosure is pretty big, but they love extra room. Like any kind of huntsman, any kind of wandering spider, Give them all extra room. They'll use all of it. I can guarantee it. Up next, this is Psalmopoeus armenia. This is a subadult female that I have. Cool story is this one, it was a holdback of my very first breeding project of Psalmopoeus armenia years ago. I held back one and I was like, you know, if it's a male, fine. If it's female, fine. Like, I didn't really care either way. Turned out this one turned out to be a female. And she has this thing webbed in here. She's not paired or anything, so I'm not expecting an egg sac. You know, probably a molt, you know, coming up. But she left like a little window right here where I can kind of see her. Usually she uses all of this enclosure. I keep it damp on the lower levels. But yep, Psalmopoeus armenia, the Venezuelan sun tiger. Alright, now we're finally starting to see spiders here. I do have spiders. This is a Hogna carolinensis. This is my old female. Some of you might recognize her. I'm not sure how long she has left. She's just in this, it's just kind of a Walmart box that I bought. Perfect size for her. I put a water dish in there. Being that she dropped me 3 egg sacs, I'm not sure how long she has left, unfortunately. She has been kind of slowing down eating and stuff, so it's going to be unfortunate when she passes. I love this girl. I would definitely recommend these guys. I love wolf spiders. They're just cool, you know. Here's a good shot of her. Those very cool spiders. Next up is another one that kind of sits out on top all the time. This is Harpactira chrysogaster. This is one of everybody's favorites. I accumulated this female. She will be going in a different box here pretty soon. I'm just trying to think up some ideas. But I accumulated this female from a lady on Facebook. She was downsizing her collection, and I was like, you have a chrysogaster female? And then we got to talking, and she sent me pictures, and I was like, you know, we struck up a deal. And hopefully, you know, by the time she matures, she's not quite there yet, but by the time she matures, I'm hoping to be able to breed these guys here in the US. Get them out there a little bit more. They're super underrated. They almost have the coloring of a green bottle blue. If you could see her, there she is. But obviously they're Harpactira, so they're a little bit more spicy. Very cool spiders. Alright, here's another one that some of you might recognize. It's the Avicularia metallica. Let's see. I don't know how she wants to be bothered right now, probably not, but I'm sure you guys seen, I do have pictures of her as well on my Instagram, Facebook. Everywhere I post my photography, I have pictures of her. This is that M6 that I posted the other day. She is gorgeous. And I don't even like Avix much, but it's just something about her. Just gorgeous. Alright, this is my Brachypelma avoceps female. If you guys follow me on social, you know she's the reason why I was itchy for a few days. I have her set up in an Exoterra. This is just an 8x8x8. I think probably next molt I'll put her in something a little bit more fitting. But for right now, this works. She is, I mean, they're stunning spider. I would touch her, but she would probably fling hairs and I'll be itchy again. It's the only downfall about New Worlds. Up next, this is Ornithoctoninae, species Fan-K Blue. This is a smaller female that I have. She'll be also coming out of this enclosure when she gets a little bit bigger. Oh, there she goes. I tried to get a picture of her, but she's not cooperating. Figures, huh? But yep, Ornithoctoninae, species Fan-K Blue. Alright. Moving on, we got Davus penniloris, Guatemalan tiger rump. I am anticipating a sac from this girl. However, if she molts out, it's not going to be surprising. These are a very tough species to produce, unfortunately, so just kind of rolling with the punches. Gorgeous spider though. I love these guys. They're on the smaller side, so they're not a very big tarantula, but I mean the patterns and colors are just phenomenal. Alright, back to pet holes. This one is Formingocylus arboricola. This one was actually, this one's kind of sentimental to me. She was a holdback female from one of my older females' egg sacs. That female that had the egg sac passed away 18 days after having this sac, and I kept a couple back, and I ended up with this female and another female that I sent out to the guy that gave me the male, kind of as like a sentimental thing. But you know, all in all, it was a successful pairing. It just stinks that, you know, that she passed away 18 days after dropping the sac. However, I was fortunate enough to be able to save it, so that's always good. I wish she was out. You'd be able to see her, but she's rarely ever out. Alright, and some of you guys might know who this is. This is Skits. This is my Chilobrachys fimbriatus. She's also got some crazy webbing. For those of you that know I bred these, know that she breeds big numbers. So she dropped 225 on the first sac and then 321 on the second sac. So big numbers as far as egg sacs, and she's gorgeous. I've had her since she was, you know, 3/4 inch sling. Raised her up to a female. Now she has her own babies. I don't think I'm going to be breeding her anymore though, because her last sac, the 321, kind of wiped her out. She was really not doing well after that one. So I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna retire this female. Alright, last one on the shelf is Rowena. This is my Heterometris silenus. This is my Asian forest scorpion. I have her in like a 5.5 gallon. She has a little window back here. She's looking pretty big again. I know she just had a clutch. Maybe she's working on another one. So hopefully these guys are really cool. And she was my first scorpion, so kind of another sentimental animal that I have. There she is. Oh, no. Now she's not there. Alrighty, so moving on to shelf number 3. Just an overview, and then we'll get into this one. I haven't gotten into all the little tiny things, you know, little slings and stuff like that. I'm just showing the bigger spiders and stuff that I have. You know, I'm not going to waste a whole bunch of time on showing off little tiny slings or anything like that. So let's get into shelf 3. I'm going to start this one off with Oleos giganteus. This is the giant crab spider. These guys come from Arizona. Very cool. This is one of 2 penult males that I have. If anybody has a big female and needs a male, shoot me a message. I'll be happy to get these guys out there, get some captive breeding going on. These guys are very cool. Alright guys, yet another pet hole. This is Cereopagopus doriae. This female is paired. Hopefully you're going to get an egg sac. She did drop a egg sac last molt, but it was, you know, obviously a phantom egg sac, but then she molted. And I'm hoping for some better luck here. As you can see, she's in one of the 8x8x12 Zilla creatures. She has kind of a thing here. Look at that webbing. See, this is that post I posted the other day, or yesterday, about the colored webbing. Isn't that cool? The colors. Anyways. Cereopagopus doriae. Alright, moving on. I wanted to show off this one. I'm not going to get her out or anything because she just molted yesterday. This is Psalmopaeus victori. Look at the webbing. This is incredible. There's her leg there. Incredible webbing from these guys. This is the Darth Maul tarantula, or the Mexican half and half. I like the name Darth Maul better because my wife's a Star Wars nerd. So we'll just stick with that one. Awesome species. Up next, this is Cereopagopus robustum. This is a male, a little juvenile male. I do have a bigger female here. I'll be working on lining them up, getting these bred and out into the hobby. They're criminally underrated. These guys are beautiful. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick up, but they're almost like a dark blue color. Gorgeous spiders. This is another Dabus peniloris. This is a male. For my female, whenever he's ready, this is just kind of like a backup male, just in case she doesn't drop an egg sac. At least I have, plan B. Always got to stay prepared with these guys. I do want to pull them off one day, but even like the males are just amazing. As you can see, look at that Gatorade cap for water dish. I use them all the time. Juveniles and stuff, go cheap. You don't need to be spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on enclosures just so they can grow out of them. Alright, this is one of my favorite pet holes. Cereopagopus species Bakma. This female produced last year, however, there wasn't many survivors. I only had 10 survivors on this one. Hopefully better luck next time. I think I had something to do with the male because I sent that male out to a friend and she had the same issue. All the eggs were, kind of stuck together. There wasn't a whole bunch of survivors on her end. So hopefully better luck next time. But this is Cereopagopus Bakma. Alright, and then moving on to, this is my Cereopagopus robustum female. She has a little den here. Not sure where she is, but oh, she's back. Can't see her. She's back in the backpack, but that's okay. She might be molting pretty soon. There she is. She is getting kind of brown. Once she molts, keep an eye out again for some photos of her. Definitely get some cool pictures of the robustums. Alright, and this is a Poecilotheria metallica. This adult female. She does need a molt. She needs a molt bad. And then pictures are going to be up of her. This is how she lives. I was really hesitant on getting a metallica, just because the appeal never came to me, but after owning one, I think she's pretty cool. She's really chill. She's not out to hurt nobody. She's gorgeous. Beautiful spider. But I like, I'm a black and white pokey kind of guy. Vitata, Tigrina Waselli, Regalis, etc., etc. But she is gorgeous. Looking forward to breeding her when she's ready. I know a few people with males, so keep everybody posted on her. Alright, these guys are really cool. This is Selenocosminae species Cordillera. These were from the very first egg sac produced here in the US. Kind of a cool sentimental thing. I have 2 females. I thought about maybe downsizing and offering up a female, but we'll see how that goes. But as far as bloodlines, these are going to be the purest bloodline that there is here in the hobby in the US. Being that they're first sac, they haven't gotten muddied yet. They haven't been, bred with their brothers and sisters yet. These are the purest bloodlines. Very cool. Alright, moving on. This is Centroides nigromanus, the uncommon bark scorpion. This is a gorgeous girl. My buddy Brandon Russell at Arachnid Rarities has a male, but he's hanging on to him to make sure his female drops, just in case things happen. But eventually, when I do get access to a male, I'm going to be breeding up these guys. She looks pretty primo right now, so I'm not going to bump her around too much. But these are an arboreal scorpion, so Centroides, they're arboreal. Very cool. Alright, this is Lasiodorides polycuspulatus. This is the Peruvian blonde, I do believe their name is. Let's see, we might be able to coax this one out. This one's usually not too shy. But these guys are really cool. They're not really talked about a lot, which is surprising because they're definitely one of my favorite New World tarantulas. I do suspect that this one's a male, so eventually I'll be letting him out to a female whenever he's ready. Where's he going? This is the only time I handle, is, you know, when they're just walking. There he is. These guys are really cool. Got a big old butt on him. Alright, these are Ensiocratella olivacea. These are the Tanzanian black and olives. Let's see if I can maybe bump this one out a little bit. There he is. Or she, I don't know. So one of them is a for sure female. This one here keeps ripping up the molts. I do suspect male, but I need a good molt to prove otherwise. These guys are really cool. I know Dave Fisher, Dave's BCs, just did a video on these. Awesome spiders. Alright, and this is my female E. olivacea. This one kind of throwing me a pose because I open up the lid. She is a bit smaller than the other one. She just molted maybe a week ago, so I'll be feeding her up here pretty soon. These guys are awesome. I'm so glad I got these. I almost didn't, and then somebody talked me into it, and they were like, you know, you really should. And then I'm glad I did, because man, these guys are fantastic. Alright, and then in here you see the feet. Those are of the Ornithoctonus species cowsock. These guys are very similar to the Areotibialis, however they are different. They don't have much of a gold fringe on this side of the legs, and they have a black abdomen, unlike the Areotibialis that has a gold abdomen. These guys are very cool. Whenever this female molts, I'll be on the lookout for a male. Hopefully get some breeding cowsock going in the US. Alright, this is Hysterocrates gigas, Cameroon red baboon. Funny story about this is I used to have a big female and I sold her to somebody, and then you kind of, it's one of those things like, yeah, they're a brown spider, but you kind of miss having them. These guys get very big, I'd say about 8 inches or so as adults. They're an impressive spider. They can fish. They're known to like dive into ponds and stuff, which makes me wonder, maybe if she gets older, I'll set her up with like a water setup. I think that would be very cool. Hysterocrates gigas, Cameroon red baboon. Alright, and then this is Liphistius ornatus. This is my female. She's hopefully paired. I was able to cohab these guys, male and female, and I woke up the one day and the male was, you know, dead. He was chewed up in a bolus, and I'm hoping that, you know, they at least paired before he sacrificed himself. Not a lot of breeding stories about these, so I just, you know, I'm kind of winging it, you know, with what I have. So, Liphistius ornatus. This is the Suwat armored trapdoor spider. This guy here, this is a mature male. This is the Halconia murrayensis. We get a reaction from him. Kind of hangs out on the bottom. He is getting pretty old, so I don't know how long he's going to be around for. Unfortunately, he paired with my female a few times, and there was no babies, so but all I can do is, you know, try again one day. Just, you know, keep trying until I, you know, succeed. Alright, so this is the Pamphobedia species Machala. She's a, I'd say about 4.5 inch female. She's just in a critter keeper right now. Eventually I am going to put her in something a little bit more decent, but, you know, right now this works. She is gorgeous. Love these guys. I know I like my old worlds, but I've been trying to appreciate new worlds a little bit more, trying to get past the fact that, yeah, they kick hairs. But she's very pretty. Alright, moving on to shelf 4. This is shelf number 4. Don't worry about this stuff. It's just miscellaneous, whatever. But I'll show you what goes on this shelf. First up, this is Amazonius germani. Catch her while she's out. Waiting on her to molt. She's taking her sweet time. They really are a pretty spider. I love these guys. I'm a huge fan of Amazonius. I'm a huge fan of Psalmopoeus, Tapinocenius, any of the arboreal new worlds. Love these. For anybody that's looking to get into old world spiders, definitely look into these guys. And Psalmopoeus and Tapinocenius, they'll get you kind of prepped for the speed, the defensiveness, you know, things like that. And that's how she's set up. Pretty cool enclosure. Alright, next up, this is for Mingakailos hattie, or the purple earth tiger. You never see her ever. She comes out once in a while, but usually she's back here in this tunnel. She's right there. There she is. But she rarely ever comes out, which is fine. I don't mind it. I know she's alive and doing well. This one produced for me this past year. Right at the end of the year, produced some hatties. These guys are really cool. Alright, this is one of 2 Centroides bicolor. This is the bicolor bark scorpion. These are currently unsexed. Probably next molt I'll be able to tell what they are. I love these guys. I raised them up from little tiny scorpions. They were so small when they got here. Probably, you know, no bigger than an inch. They grow extremely fast. But they're very cool. Alright, this is Grammostola rosea normal color form. This is just your basic rose hair. I did pair this girl a little while ago, but I don't think she's ever going to drop a sack. I think she's a grandma. I would be really surprised if she did drop an egg sack, but I'm not holding my breath. She is gorgeous though. This is Omothymus species Langkawi. This is the Langkawi earth tiger. She's down there. Don't see much of this girl. However, she did produce for me last year or the year before. I produced Langkawi. These guys are really cool. They're almost like the Chiete, the Malaysian earth tiger, but they're a bit different. I've owned both, and I can definitely tell the difference with these guys. As you can see, they're arboreal, but then they make their burrows down in there. She kind of stays back there. Okay. This is a very special one to me. This is Killibrachys species cerebrii. This is my female. As you can see, I'm trying to feed her up a little bit, get her through a molt before the male. The goal is to produce these eventually. The only way that's possible is to, get them lined up, or it's just going to be a series of unfortunate events. Shout out Lemony Snicket. But she is amazing. These guys are awesome. This is another one that you don't see very often in the hobby, and you don't see it very often if you own them. This is Lyranathus Giannis Basadoi. She's probably in here somewhere. But she stays, pretty well burrowed. I wish they were out more because they are very cool. They're like a two-tone. The back of them is black and they fade into like a light brown up front. Very cool species. This is a female. So when she's old enough, I'll be looking forward to breeding them as well, getting them out there more. And last but not least in this stack, this is the Killibrachys cerebrii. This is the male. Probably penultimate at this size. They are Killibrachys, but they don't get very big like the Nat tanacharum or the Cancrochon. They stay about 5, maybe 6 inches. So this guy might be penultimate at this size, which is why I'm pushing my female to, try to get her to molt before he does. Alright, and then the rest of the shelf I'll just show you like this. This is the Schmitty Kabang. This is the male, mature male. He's down in the burrow. This is the female. She's looking pretty gravid, honestly. I might see an egg sac from her pretty soon. That would be exciting. Love these guys. I love the Schmitties, especially the Kabangs. They're super pretty. All this stuff up here is just, slings that I'm raising up. I got 2 pumpkin patch. These 2 fimbriatus are from my female's egg sac. I have, miscellaneous things that I'm raising up here. Like I said, I'm not really going to get into slings. I'm going to save everybody some time watching this video so I don't bore them to death. Alright, let's move on to shelf 5. So this organized chaos, this is shelf number 5. Most of this shelf is inventory. So if you buy on my website, it's going to come off this shelf. This is my inventory shelf, along with breeding projects, different things. That's my centipede, my Vietnam yellow leg. He hasn't been out. I'm wondering if he's working up a molt or something. This is my Poecilotheria Fusca Highland female, and then I have an egg sac. We can look at a few things on here. All right, so this is my Poecilotheria Fusca Highland. This is a confirmed female. Smaller size, but that's okay. I'll raise her up and get her up to breeding size and produce more ESA species here in Colorado, because we need them badly. But this is all her setup is, just basic. Everything I have set up is, pretty simple. I'm not a very artistic person, so I keep it pretty simple. Alright. This is all Killibrachys Cancrochon babies from my female. She just dropped I counted 474, but I don't know, like there might be more, but they're doing well. As you can see, they're wiggling around. I have them set up in this kind of incubator. There's water in the bottom of this, and then you just kind of put pantyhose over the whole thing, cut the top out, and then put the sack on there. But they're doing well. Looking forward to finish producing these guys. All right, and these are Poecilotheria vittata from my female. Looking forward to hatching out another sack of these. I counted 162 on this sack, so not too shabby. Alright, so I had to switch over to a handheld light because my phone light died, but this is my Poecilotheria vittata. This is the mom to those babies that I just showed you. That was her last egg sack. As you can see, she hates being seen, so. But yeah, this is a Poecilotheria vittata, the ghost ornamental. These are an ESA species, so for all my Colorado peeps, whenever these turn into actual babies, I'm going to get them fed up and they'll be available here in Colorado. Alright, some more true spider action. This is Pilotinus hematostoma. This is a red fang wandering spider. This female seems a little bit old. She dropped a sack, but like she's not really eating much anymore. You know, she's not her old defensive self. Like when she was younger, I wouldn't be able to do this. She would have gave me all wet fur, but she's getting older now. Unfortunately, it's just something that happens to true spiders. They don't really live that long, sadly. But she is a stunner. I really love her too. I like true spiders. I like all these guys. But you can see why they're called the red fang wandering spider. Those red fangs on her. Awesome. Alright, and this is another type of wandering spider. This is the blue fang wandering, or the blue femur wandering spider, Macrotinus kingsley. I do have a bunch of her babies. I can brisk through them real quick. This is the female to those babies that I have. As you can see, she's right there. Now she's a little bit more defensive because she's younger yet. She hasn't lost that spunk, but there she is. That's a good shot of her. She's very cool. And these babies are doing great. They're tiny, but they're doing fantastic. Some nice healthy babies from her. Alright, we probably don't need flash for this girl, but this is my potentially gravid OBT. This is my red color form female. Her last sack only produced, I think it was 20 babies. Somewhere along those lines, and hopefully better luck this time. But I wanted to show you guys, if these are set up correctly, you don't get any aggression. You know, a little bit of curiosity, like, you know, kind of like what's touching my legs, but you don't get any aggression from these guys. This girl is an absolute sweetheart. I love her to death, and her name's Jackie. She was named by my oldest. He loves the color orange, so. Alright, this is another true spider. This is Holconia murrayensis. This is the female Australian banded huntsman. I know I showed you the male earlier. This is the female. I posted pictures of her last night. She was out posing. So for those that follow me on social, probably have seen her, but man, she is a stunner. I was really hoping that her egg sacs would be good. Unfortunately, none of them were, you know, viable. So maybe the male was a little bit old, but you know, the only thing I can do is try again. maybe in the future the opportunity will be there, and I'll give it a whirl again. Alrighty, this is the Kylobrachys natanacharum, the electric blue. This is my female. She was supposed to have an egg sac for me, but she molted out. So again, you know, you can't win them all. Better luck next time. Get a fresher male. The male that was sent to me, he was on his way out anyway, so I'm not surprised that she molted out. But you can see, I'm not going to bother her much because she just molted like yesterday. But you can see the blues on the femurs. These guys are awesome. Alright, this is big old mama. This is the Kylobrachys canquichan. This is the mom to all those babies that I have over there. She kind of got brown. Usually she's like a jet black color. She's having a look here because she feels me out here. She said, "What's going on?" But she is a sweet girl. She's not anything aggressive by any means. Alright, so now I'm going to move on. I'm going to show you some tiny babies. And then we'll move on. I'll show you some isopods as well. These are Macrotinus kingsley. These are the second sac. These guys are extremely small. So usually I'll just let them in here. And I'll just let them kind of, you know, whatever they want to do. I'll probably remove the egg sac since everybody came out. That way I don't run into mold or anything like that. But these are the blue femur wandering spider. This is her second egg sac, produced here by me. Very cool spider. Alright, and these are Barolessus occidentalis babies. These are the Cameroon crab spider. I know I have a ton of these as well, but she keeps dropping me little surprises, so just gotta do what you gotta do. They're really cool spiders though, super underrated. Alright, these are kind of like my wife's thing, but you know, I kind of grew to enjoying them as well. These are isopods. I'm not really good with the scientific names yet, so I'm just going to call these, you know, as they're labeled. These are glacier isopods. There's one there. I'm just going to give these guys a real quick kind of rain. These guys have been doing great. Like they're producing it really well. And they're really cool. Like white isopods are kind of cool to me, and they're a little bit bigger, so they're not like the white dwarfs. So those are glaciers. Up next we have, these are the Panda King. These guys stay pretty well under the moss all the time. Let's see if we can find one. That'll come out. Get an example. Yeah, they really don't want to be bothered right now, huh? Maybe they're yeah, I'm not seeing any here. There's a ton in here, but I'm not seeing any. Oh, there they are. So there's their little area that they have under this moss. See, they like to stay under the moss. It makes them feel, you know, secure. So this is the way I have it set up. These are Panda Kings. All right, up next, these are the yellow zebra. These guys stay pretty well under the moss all the time. See if we can find one. That'll come out. Get an example. Yeah, I'm not seeing any here. There's a ton in here, but I'm not seeing any. Nope, there they are. So there's their little area that they have under this moss. See, they like to stay under the moss. It makes them feel, you know, secure. So this is the way I have it set up. These are Panda Kings. All right, up next, these are the yellow zebra. These guys stay out right on top for the most bit. There's some babies there. Got these guys going pretty well. Took them forever to get to reproduce yellow zebras for whatever reason. They really took their time, but at least it's happening. They're pretty cool. All right, next up we have ember bees. These guys are really cool. They've been doing extremely well. Hoping that one day they start, producing. Extremely cool. Extremely cool. So those are ember bees. Alright, and these are one of my wife's favorites. These are the rubber ducks. One of the more popular ones in the isopod community. There's one there. These are really cool, actually. Got some springtail action. And these are another one, they kind of stay under the moss a lot of the time. It's really, really rare that you see these out ever. Unfortunately, because like I said, they are really cool, but those are the rubber ducks. Alright, up next, these are anemone isopods. Babies in there. These guys have been doing fantastic. There they are. And they're already producing. There's little babies running around in here. There's one. There's a big one that just ran under that leaf. We're gonna give these guys a spray. I usually give them a spray. Give them a good spray down probably like once, every week, once a week. Just enough to give them a little bit of moisture, a little bit of drinking water, things like that. And I got two more I can show you. We're probably not going to see any of these guys because there was only a mom and her babies in here, so they're probably buried away, but these are happy nun. I do need to get more, that way they keep reproducing, but until then it's just mom and her babies. Let me see if I could find one in here. Like I said, I highly doubt that I'm gonna see any, because it's only mom and her babies. There's one. That's one of her babies. They get pretty big pretty quick, which is good. Seeing things grow makes me happy, That means it's flourishing and it's doing, what they're supposed to be doing. So yeah, I'm not sure where all the other ones are. Maybe they make themselves little burrows. The thing about happy nuns is they make themselves like little tiny burrows. So the chances of ever seeing them slim to none. But this is, happy nun village here. Alright, and then last but not least, in our newest additions, cappuccinos. Let's see if we could find any of these guys. Oh, there's one. There's one. These guys are really cool. And again, they're amidst this enclosure. They're, kind of doing their own thing. I don't like to dig up too much because it kind of ruins their ways, you know. So I just like to, if I catch them out, then I catch them out. Like there's one, cappuccino. And if I don't, better luck the next day, you know. I don't like to go like crazy digging through these things. But this is Cappuccino Village. Alright, and then the last big animal that I'm going to show you, these are the African giant millipedes. Probably going to get pooped on. These guys are really cool. This is the male. And then this one over here, this is the female. She likes to poop on you. I'm trying to get these guys to trigger their natural behaviors and to breed. Here she is. That's cool. She came out for the picture. This is the female. This is the second female that I've had to get. The first one, she paired with the male, and then she ended up passing away, unfortunately. But these guys are really, really cool, and I'm really hoping for some success on some captive bred giant African millipedes. Go ahead and set her down, let her walk off. You don't really want to pull away from these guys. I'm afraid that they would, yank a leg off or something like that. You kind of just want to let them walk off. I know it takes a minute because they have long bodies, but you kind of just want to let them walk off your fingers like that. If you pull, there's a risk that, they may yank legs off or get it upset or something like that. So, and this is the male. He usually comes out pretty often. He's being extra shy today for some reason. There he is. This is the dude on his second girlfriend, because his first one passed away, so that's unfortunate. I kind of feel bad for him because he's like, whoa, I didn't do anything wrong. But it's just nature, Being that a lot of these guys are imported now, could have been maybe something with how she was out in the wild. Maybe she was already sick when she got here or something along those lines. But yep, African giant millipedes. And see how I'm just letting them kind of walk off me there. And there's nothing in here that they can't eat. So everything in here is edible. Sometimes I found out that they love zucchini. Sometimes I'll put some zucchini in there. All this is cuttlebone. The females, like, what the heck's going on? These are lotus pods. They've been eating those. This is all rotted wood, moss, more rotted wood, water dish. They kind of, whatever they want to eat in here, they can. And I go through, like, there was a lot of leaves in here, but they've been really eating up the leaves. I use the pecan leaves, or I use maple leaves, or I do a little bit of a mix, and I just kind of sprinkle them in here. So that's how I set these guys up, and I'll give them a mist. I'll keep the substrate damp. They're in a big tub. This is a 24-quart tub from Walmart, and I drilled some holes in it, and then I keep it pretty full and keep it damp. Hopefully one day I'll look in here and she'll be holding babies. That'd be really cool. These guys are really cool. Alright, and last but not least, this is my baby. She's going nuts. She just came out of brumation, so she's got a lot of energy right now. But this is Pancake. This is my baby. Let's see if I can get her out. Hang on one second. This is my My pride and joy, my baby. I've had her since, I've had her since she was a little tiny, as big as my index finger. Let's get out of the light. There we go. There she is. She has a scar right here and like on the side of her face. I don't know if you can see it. So she got sick when she was little and she was on some meds and the meds kind of wiped her out. It was a really like hard task to, you know, get her back, you know, to health, but we did it. Now she's doing great. She just has scars, but she's fine. Look at her. Yeah. She's a big girl. This is my baby though. She'll judge. But alright guys, well, take it easy. Have a good day. Thank you for watching. Alright, so what do you guys think? Pretty cool video. I know I don't usually post on YouTube, but maybe, you know, moving forward, I'm gonna do updates, things like that. I know I post pairing videos, you know, as they come and go, and breeding updates on my other socials. I got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, yada yada yada. I'm wearing the Tarantula Collective t-shirt today because I just got put on the Tarantula Collective recommended vendor list. If you go on their website, 8DeadlySins LLC is on there as a recommended vendor, so that's a pretty cool thing. Getting recognized in the community a little bit. Pretty cool. Well, I hope you guys liked it, and you'll see me back with more updates, more videos in the future. Comment down below if you have any suggestions, any questions. You can hit me up on any of my socials. I'll leave all the links down in the description. Thank you guys for coming hanging out. Don't be afraid.